There was this moment a few months ago when I got a bonus at work, and instead of feeling excited, my first thought was, what if I lose my job next month? I didn't celebrate, I just moved the money into savings and started catastrophizing. My job was stable, my finances were fine, but I couldn't enjoy having more money because my brain was preparing for disaster. That's when it hit me. I wasn't managing money, I was managing fear. And a lot of us do this without realizing it. We treat money like it's always about to disappear, even when it's not. We make decisions from panic rather than reality. This mindset doesn't just affect our bank accounts, it affects how we feel every day, how we see ourselves, and what we think we deserve. When was the last time you made a money decision that wasn't rooted in fear? Not greed, not impulse, but actual quiet fear that you won't have enough. Because most of us convinced ourselves that being anxious about money is being responsible, that if we're not worried, we're reckless. But what if that's not true? What if the scarcity mindset we've adopted is making us poorer, not safer? Let's talk about that. Here's what nobody tells you. Scarcity thinking isn't always based on your actual financial situation. You can have decent income, savings, investments, and still operate from scarcity. Because it isn't just about the numbers, it's about how your brain has been wired to see money. Most of us learned this early. Maybe your parents stressed about bills, maybe you grew up hearing, we can't afford that. Or you had one bad financial moment your brain tattooed into your decision-making forever. Your brain started treating money like it's always in danger, like every dollar you spend is one you'll desperately need later. The psychology is simple. Your brain wants to protect you, so when it sees a threat, losing money, not having enough, being unable to survive, it activates loss aversion. Your brain feels the pain of losing money way more intensely than the joy of gaining it. Studies show we feel losses about twice as strongly as gains. Spending $20 can feel worse than earning $20 feels good. Combine that with financial stress, real rent, bills, uncertainty, and you get constant alert. Your nervous system treats every financial decision like survival. In survival mode, you stop thinking long term. You stop seeing opportunities. You just hold on to what you have. But here's where it gets tricky. Scarcity thinking doesn't make you more careful. It makes you worse at managing money. When operating from fear, you make emotional decisions. You avoid investing because losing feels risky, even when not investing guarantees you lose to inflation. You stay in underpaying jobs because fear of instability feels worse than being undervalued. You don't negotiate. You don't ask for raises. You don't spend on things that could improve your life because spending feels dangerous. I've seen this. Times I didn't buy a better computer that would have made work easier. I didn't invest in learning because courses cost money. I didn't take opportunities that required upfront cost. I stayed stuck, not because I didn't have money, but because I was too afraid to use it strategically. So focused on not losing that I couldn't see how to win. Research backs this up. Psychologists found when people feel scarcity, time, money, resources, they experience tunneling. Your focus narrows so you only see the immediate problem. You lose the ability to think creatively or see the bigger picture. This is the real trap. Scarcity thinking creates the outcomes you're afraid of. You don't invest, money doesn't grow. You don't take risks, you stay in the same position. You stress about money and it affects health, relationships, work focus. Fear becomes self-fulfilling. But let's be clear, I'm not saying ignore financial reality or pretend you have money you don't have. There's a huge difference between being broke and thinking like you're broke when you're not. Real struggle requires careful management. But scarcity thinking, that's when you have options and can't see them, when you're paralyzed by fear even when the math says you're okay. So here's the shift I had to make, and maybe you need to make it too. I stopped asking, can I afford this? And started asking, what am I actually afraid of? Because most of the time, it wasn't about money. It was about control. It was about feeling safe. It was about this belief that I didn't deserve both security and comfort. Once I saw that, things started changing. not because I had more money, but because I used it differently. I started seeing it as a tool instead of a shield. I understood that sometimes spending money is the responsible choice if it helps you earn more, save time, or improve your life. I bought that better computer. I invested in skills that increased my income. I stopped choosing the cheapest version just to prove I was careful. And guess what happened? I didn't go broke. I started doing better financially because I wasn't operating from panic. Here's what this looks like practically. You're thinking about spending money on something. Could be anything. A course, better equipment, investing, even groceries you want instead of the cheapest option. Instead of going into panic mode, pause. Look at your actual numbers, not your feelings, your actual bank account, expenses, income. Ask, if I spend this, what happens next month? What happens in 3 months? What's the worst case scenario? And is it actually that bad? Most of the time, you'll realize the fear is bigger than reality, that spending $200 on something useful won't destroy your life, that investing $1,000 doesn't mean you'll lose everything. And then ask, what happens if I don't spend this? Do I stay stuck? Do I keep stressing? Do I miss out on something that could help me? This doesn't mean spending recklessly. It means making decisions based on reality, not fear. Recognizing when your scarcity thinking is protecting you and when it's holding you back. Another thing that helps, build actual safety nets instead of emotional ones. An emergency fund does way more for peace of mind than constantly worrying. Having 3 months saved means you can make decisions from security instead of desperation. You can negotiate better, leave bad situations, take calculated risks. But if you never feel secure enough to build that safety net because you're too afraid to invest or save strategically, you stay in the same cycle. You're not protecting yourself. You're just staying scared. And here's the truth that took me too long to learn. Money isn't actually scarce for most of us. Time is scarce. Health is scarce. The years we have to build the life we want, those are scarce. But money? Money flows. It comes and goes. You can earn more, make different choices, change your situation. But you can't do any of that if you're frozen by fear. I'm not saying you'll never be anxious about money again. I still am sometimes. But now I can recognize when it's real concern versus old programming. And that awareness, that changes everything. Because when you stop treating money like it's always about to disappear, you start treating yourself like you matter. You start investing in your future instead of just trying to survive. You start making choices that improve your life instead of choices that just feel safe. Look, I get it. The world feels uncertain. Jobs feel unstable. Prices keep going up. It makes sense to be careful. But there's a difference between being careful and being paralyzed, between being responsible and being ruled by fear. You don't have to choose between financial security and living your life. You don't have to apologize for wanting both, and you definitely don't have to keep treating money like the enemy. Start small. Notice the next time you make a decision from fear instead of reality. Question it. Look at the numbers. See if fear matches facts, and if it doesn't, choose differently. Because here's what I've learned. The scarcity mindset doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you small, and you don't have to stay there. You're allowed to feel secure. You're allowed to make choices that serve your future, not just your fear. You're allowed to believe that there's enough money, enough opportunity, enough possibility for you to build something better. It won't happen overnight, but it starts with recognizing that the way you've been thinking about money might not be serving you anymore. And that's okay. You can change it. One decision at a time, one choice at a time, one moment of choosing reality over fear. That's how you break free.